A little disclaimer, I didn't realize how crappy my audio was until now that I'm editing this video and it's too late for me to refilm. So we're just gonna do a voiceover. So if my mouth doesn't match what I'm saying, you know why. Anyways, hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Kimani. If you're new here, welcome to hauling this together, because no matter what you're going through in life, we are hauling this together. Today we're making bone broth because I'm on my little health journey. We're doing it for gut health, and also because I read somewhere that the bone marrow is good for bone density and like healing injuries and stuff. And I have a leg injury. I broke my femur a few years ago, and so I'm healing from that. And I figured let's do this so that we can have a healthy thing to add to our meal prep. So let's go. I got this single beef bone broth from the Real Canadian Superstore. The first thing I did was to put my bone in the oven to roast. I roasted it for about 40 minutes at 400 degrees, and when I did it I realized that it started to ooze out all the oil, and the center where the bone marrow is started to get soft. The point of this is to add more flavor dimension to your bone broth when you do it, and also to help to loosen everything up and increase the chances of the nutrients actually releasing. Now that it's roasted, I'm just going to put it in the pot of my instant pot, and I'm going to cover it with enough water because I'm going to pressure this so that it can soften a bit so I can break it apart and actually make my bone broth. I didn't measure any of this, I just ensured that the bone was covered. And then I pressured on high for an hour and 8 minutes. The 8 minutes was just there and I'm like, let's leave it. But you need to pressure it for about an hour. This is what it looked like. At this point, it was 2 days later, if I'm being honest, and the fat had settled on top with it. But I thought that was a good thing anyways because I need to remove it. After pressuring for the 1 hour, the middle where the marrow is was super soft, but the rest of the bone was still pretty hard, and it did have some like meat scrap that was like on the bone. That was fine. So I decided that I'm going to get a mallet and I'm going to break apart the bone so that I can get all the nutrients that I need out of it. I was struggling so hard I had to call for backup, but I got backup and I ended up getting it crushed. Now it's time for me to prep all my ingredients, and I was using a recipe that I got from ChatGPT, but if I followed my instincts then it would have gone a lot better because I ended up using way too much liquid in it, and it didn't gellify or like set up as much as I wanted it to, like I would see in other videos or whatever. So I would definitely use a lot less water when I'm doing this the next time. You can absolutely use whatever you want to use in yours. I used onion, garlic, carrots, scallion, thyme, some celeries, some ginger for flavor. I also use turmeric, which is great for anti-inflammatory properties. And now it's time for us to put everything back in the pot, in the water. As I said, I use way too much water, as you can see. I would definitely like half this. So I put my bone in there and I put my veggies that we had just prepped, and I'm not measuring a lot here if I'm being honest, but here comes the part that I am measuring. So I'm using apple cider vinegar. This is also good for digestion and good for anti-inflammatory properties, but most importantly in this, it's used so that it can help to extract the minerals and nutrients from the bone. I'm seasoning to my liking, so I'm using some salt, some black pepper. Definitely taste this if you need to add whatever you feel like you need to season it to taste, but I wouldn't add a lot of random things because you do want it to still remain healthy and true to the original ingredients benefits, if that makes sense. At this point I forgot that I had some chicken bones that I was saving, so I just added it into the pan. It didn't get roasted or anything, and honestly it was fine. At this point everything is in the pot and I'm just going to secure it, and then I'm going to put it on slow cook for 18 hours. Yes, you heard me, 18 hours. After the 18 hours was over, I allowed it to cool naturally and release naturally. And it didn't take 5 hours, but I left it for 5 hours because I was working and just going through my day. This is what it looks like. As I said, if it had less liquid in it, then it would have definitely been a lot more concentrated and probably the flavor would have been a lot better too. At this point, I wasn't thinking it was the water. I thought it was something else, and so I left it for another 6 hours because ideally you should leave it for 18 to 24 hours. So I just gave it the rest of time. When I realized the consistency was the same after the 6 hours, hours, I'm like, you know what? It's fine. Maybe it will set up in the fridge or something. So I just strained it off in a container, ensuring that I don't have all the veggies and bones and everything else added. And I have the container with my bone broth, as you can see here. So this is everything that's there. I left it for a little bit so that I could get the extra fat off the top. At this point, I still had faith that if I put it in the fridge covered with cling wrap, that it would set up, but it did not. And this was the following day, and it was not set up. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just work with what we have. It will still have the health benefits, even if I don't have the consistency that I want. I should mention that this is my first time making bone broth and also drinking bone broth. So I wasn't really sure what to expect from the taste. I've tried the box ones before but didn't love it. This tastes a lot better than the box one, even though I didn't do it right. So I tasted it at this point and I'm like, it needs a lot more flavor, but I figured I could just judge it up a bit when I'm about to drink like the individual servings based on what I wanted to do. I actually used a few of it to make ramen. Instead of the using water for the base of my ramen, I used bone broth to make it a little healthier, and that actually tastes really good. I had bought these containers at the dollar store specifically for this, and so I just decided that I'm going to parcel it out in individual servings so that even if I put some in the freezer, some in the fridge, I can drink the ones that's in the fridge right now and then have the ones that are in the freezer for a later date so that it wouldn't go bad. Anyways, that's all I did. This is it for this video. Just remember to do something today that will help you to be a little bit better than you were yesterday. Like, go fueling your body with healthy stuff. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.